looks can be deceiving. At first glance, these two paintings here might appear to be by a European artist or maybe even by an early American hand. However, these were actually painted in China, in Canton, modern-day Guangzhou, by an artist known to us only by the name Spoilum. We don't know his full Chinese name, but that's certainly how visiting Europeans refer to him as. His name is mentioned numerous times in diary entries. He obviously had this very distinctive niche in Canton for painting visiting Europeans in a European style. He likely trained as a glass painter, honing his technique through the endless study of European engravings and paintings which would have been brought over to Canton. In the second half of the 18th century, Canton was the only port in China that was open for international business. And such was the taste in Europe and America for the exotic goods that were available there. Business soared. In 1784, following the Treaty of Paris, America joined in with this trade with China. And indeed, this man here, William Reed of Philadelphia, was one of the early traders to use Canton as a port. He was the son of a very prosperous man. In fact, his father was a signer of both the US Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. He decided not to follow politics. He went into shipping, and it was there that he made his fortune. William Reed's first trip to Canton was in 1784, and he travelled there numerous times over the next 2 decades, including in 1805, which is when I think this work was probably painted. On that trip, he turned up with a staggering $90,000 worth of spices for trade, so he was operating at the very, very top end. Vital to William Reed's success as a trader in Canton would have been a Hong merchant, like the man which you see here to the right, and this is why we've displayed them together. Merchants such as Reed could not have done business in Canton without the assistance of a Hong merchant. These merchants represented the traders whilst they were stationed there. They were responsible for not only their business transactions, but also their conduct. So any disorderly behaviour from this man would have directly impacted a Hong merchant such as the man we see here. There were only ever around 12 Hong merchants at any one time, and as you can imagine, they held a huge amount of influence. They were often very wealthy in their own right. When a man like this threw a party, you wanted to be invited. Within that group of 12 Hong merchants, there were various levels of hierarchy, and we can tell by looking at the costume of this man here what rank he was. His hat button, which you see at the top here, which is blue, indicates he was either of the 3rd, 4th or 5th rank. And this badge here, which you see at the centre, in the form of what we assume is a goose, indicates that he was of the 4th of 12 ranks. So in other words, he was quite senior, and in all likelihood would have known the man, William Reed, we see here. What sets this work apart from most other examples by Spoilum of European cities that you see is the condition, which is near pristine. And not only that, but it remained in the possession of the sitter's family until the very end of the 20th century. Now, although we may be able to identify his rank, we don't know for certain the identification of the Hong merchant who we see here. Numerous other portraits of merchants by Spoilum from this period are known to survive. However, securing their identities is notoriously difficult. Although the gallery is known for handling predominantly British portraits, which these most certainly are not, what they do show is the profound influence that British art had around the world during this period. And not only that, but they also record a fascinating, interesting and important moment when the trade between Europe, America and China was really beginning to gather pace.